You don't need it. What do you need your phone for?
I don't know. I can't look at you. You're making the face.
I'm making the face.
Yeah.
Let me mute this. We're going to wait just a sec until we get a few viewers on, and then we will proceed with today's mission. Put my phone on quiet. I can't tell you don't need your phone, and then I'm on mine, right? We have a couple of viewers. We have 17 and a like. When you guys come on, say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I have a mini-me. She's 16, almost 17. And today we're going to put her to good use. The point of bringing her on today was A, to get her away from the PlayStation for a minute, but also to really just show you guys, we're going to talk about prep today. And I wanted to demonstrate that it's so easy that even, somebody that doesn't do this all the time like I do, can do it. It's going to be easy for her too. So, hi Dixie Belle, welcome. Yes, Valerie, she is my mini-me. You guys, her name is Amaya, just so you know. Okay, so let's just hop right into it. My name is Bianca. I'm the owner and artist of Lotus Theory Designs, and I am a brand ambassador for Dixie Belle Paint Company. This is my daughter, Amaya, and today we're going to be talking about prep. Not only talking about it, but I also want to demonstrate it. And we're going to be doing it on this piece right here. So I chose this piece to demonstrate because it's not like architecturally intricate. We're going to be able to get through it pretty quickly. So we're going to talk about a few different products that Dixie Belle offers to help you along in the prep process. Before I do that, I do want to say, you're going to need that sugar. Prep is the most important step in the refinishing process. Your finished product is only going to be as good as the amount of prep that you put into it. It's kind of like building a house. You wouldn't lay it on a lousy foundation. So same thing, it's not gonna last, right? So that's the theory that we're gonna be working on today. And the first thing that we're gonna do is clean our piece. So I've got the hardware removed from it. I've inspected it. There are things I'm probably gonna go back and do later, but just for the sake of getting you guys through basic prep, we're gonna work on it as is. The first thing that we're going to do is clean it. This piece looks pretty good, right? It doesn't look too bad, but once we start getting into it and cleaning it and prepping it, prep is also a good way to get to know your piece. There are things that I discovered during the prep process that I would not have just looking at it and picking it up and buying it. So we're going to clean it, and you're going to notice how dirty your piece actually is. I mean, this is a good antique piece or vintage. I haven't really inspected it far enough to know for sure. However, it's old, so that's a whole lot of body oil and dirt and everything else that's been building up into it. There have been times where she's prepped pieces for me, and I'm like, yeah, girl, that's that nasty skin oil from 50 years ago. And yeah, that face, right? Yeah, exactly. Why would you want that underneath your layer of paint, right? Yeah, exactly. So the first thing that we're going to do, actually, the first thing we're going to do is this. Prep is a messy process. So let me start here, and it's getting warm here. Okay, we're going to use Dixie Belle's White Lightning, okay? This is a crystallized TSP cleaner. So what is TSP? It cleans, it lifts up all of the dirt and grime that's been building up for years. And it also serves as a glosser as well. We're not going to be able to really demonstrate on this piece very well because it's not super glossy. However, you're going to notice a drastic difference between when we started and after we've cleaned it. So you're going to add, I'm going to read the directions to you, okay? So you want to dissolve 2 heaping teaspoons of White Lightning into a gallon of hot water. I've already done that in my spray bottle here. And the reason, for hot water is so that the crystals dissolve, obviously. So I've already got that going. I have my bottle labeled TSP. That's probably a good idea so you're not using, TSP, which is White Lightning, as water as you're blending. That would be bad. So the first thing we're going to do, first thing she's going to do, is give it a good hose down. And while she's doing that, if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm going to be, now that especially I have a nice helper here. Don't let her fool you. She's getting paid to join me. Everything Lotus is a job. So anyways, ask me your questions. I'm here to answer them. Caitlin, if you're asking me if I sell the furniture, I do. And I'm glad that you asked that because I personally would struggle putting something out for sale that I did not put proper prep into. So the prep is going to make you feel so much more confident in your product. Thanks, Sandy. Valerie, I do. I give her, I mean, she can't really work right now and she's saving up for car insurance and all that stuff. And, so everything that has to do with my business and she helps me with, I pay her for it because honestly, I would pay somebody else. Anyway, but the house stuff she does because she lives here and she needs to contribute. Lisa, I'm not just giving her the grunt work totally. She's not really interested in painting, are you, Sugar? No. She painted her own vanity. She's like, never again. She doesn't mind the grunt work, so that works for me. Yeah, Robin, that's a good question. Robin says, will the vinegar work on cleaning of furniture? Yeah, in theory, vinegar is a great cleaning agent. I use it around my house. Actually, I use it in lieu of Windex and I use it for other things. However, the TSP is specifically made, or the White Lightning, I keep calling it that, but that's what it is. It is specifically made to lift up all of those years of dirt and grime. So really, it's just going to make it a lot easier. There are going to be layers that come off of this thing that we didn't even know were there. That's a good question, Julie. What's the difference between Boss and White Lightning? We're going to get to that. So stay tuned. Okay, so now that she sprayed this on, I like to let it sit for a few minutes. And I'm going to bring the camera in. I'm going to show you what's happening already. Hopefully you guys can see that. You see all that nasty? Isn't that gross?
Why you gotta touch it?
I know, she's grossed out that I touched it. That's nasty, and we did not even know that that was there. We didn't know until we sprayed it with the White Lightning. So I usually let it sit for a couple of minutes so that it really has a chance to penetrate. The other thing is wear gloves. I know gloves are in short supply right now. You can get like those big thick latex gloves. I like these because they're just a bit more flexible. Just wear something protective over your skin. It is a chemical, and though it's not going to chew directly through your flesh and expose your bones, it is going to irritate your skin. I know, the drama, right? Dixie Belle, Michelle wants to know if it is available in South Africa. I'm going to let you answer that one. Okay. Yeah, Lisa, you know what? That's a really good question. Lisa wants to know, is it okay to premix a gallon of White Lightning? I have had that same spray bottle, where did it go? Thanks, Sugar, of White Lightning water mixture in here for, I don't know, forever. And I just keep refilling it. So yes, obviously it's still working. Thanks, Jude. Jude shared. Sharing is caring. Thank you, Jude. I love that name, by the way, Jude. Okay. So I think we've let it sit for long enough. Let's grab a rag. Each of us are just going to grab a rag. let me move this down so you get the full scope of what's happening. So I get these shop towels from my local hardware store. They're just white rags, and that way I can just toss them away because they get pretty gross. Go ahead and grab one. We're each going to take a side, okay? So we've let it sit, and now we're going to wipe it away. Now notice I'm starting with a clean white rag, right? In just one swipe, look what I ended up with. Now, some of that's dirt, some of that is actually, the wood, the coloring of the wood and the tannin bleed and stuff coming up. That's okay. That for sure is nasty grime. I gotta tell you guys, I'm just gonna be very honest, this is not my favorite subject to teach on because it's kind of boring. This is usually the process I do behind closed doors in my pajamas, before I even shower because it gets messy. However, it's so important that I felt the need to go over it again, especially the chalk mineral paint enthusiast group. You guys, if you're not in that, go ahead and join it. That is the Dixie Belle official group where artists can come together and share and ask questions and encourage and all of that. But there are a lot of questions from time to time about prep, white lightning, all of that. So, and you know, people get confused between the products of, you know, Boss, white lightning, all of that. So I thought it would be good to go over it again. Just so that, you know, you guys, if you're new, you have a clear understanding and a good basis to go from. So my side, especially because I have my air conditioner blowing up here, my side got a little bit dry. That is so disgusting, nummy, right?
Yes.
So, and I'm not going to touch my mouse to put your comment up, Lisa, but I do see it. She wants to know, how do we know when we've rinsed away enough? I would say when your rag is no longer picking up all the disgusting grime. Or sometimes you'll see it. If this piece, and thank goodness I can already tell, but if it were totally covered in like pledge or something for years and years, you would actually kind of see it turn like this weird milky white, and you kind of keep wiping away and see it go away. So there's that too that you can look for. Anyway, where's my TSV? So what I was starting to say, I'm sorry, is that the side here started to dry because I do have the air conditioner blowing and it's blowing directly onto it. It is okay to reactivate it and hose it down again. You doing okay? How's your side coming? Are you grossed out? Or are you just used to it by now?
It's whatever.
I know you guys probably can't hear her. She's so soft-spoken. I honestly don't even know where she came from. She's so soft-spoken and I'm so loud.
These gloves are huge.
I know. She's sliding around on you. We're going to have to, when gloves are available again, get you some smaller gloves. Okay. So, and you do want to make sure that you get inside the nooks and crannies. It would be okay to grab a toothbrush. Like I said, architecturally, this piece is pretty straightforward. So, you know, I'm not really necessarily having to grab a toothbrush, but if it had a whole bunch of like ornate filigree and design on it, you bet your bottom that I'd be pulling out the toothbrush to get into those details. We're almost done with this part. That water is absolutely disgusting. Oh, that's nasty.
I was like, I don't want to use the bucket because I feel like I'm just spraying it.
Yeah. It's okay for a sec, but yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. I think it's pretty good. Like I said, after this is said and done, I may make another pass just because I do feel like I'm kind of rushing so I can get through everything that I have for you today. I'm going to let it dry because the next step is I'm going to sand it. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show you what I'm going to use to do it.
You got that.
I know, I just got it all over you. I'm sorry. I got it on me too.
That's what you get.
Oh, it's one of those moments where it's
I'm
fun
gonna
being
hit my
alone.
head and be like,
Yeah, nobody can hear you. You have to speak up.
no, they don't need to.
They don't need to
Just
hear
know
you.
this
Okay.
It's a problem.
Okay. While that's drying for just a sec, just long enough to answer questions, I'm going to look here and see if we have any. Yeah, Lisa, I'm probably going to go back and give it a good wipe down. Actually, you know what? While I'm doing that, do you want to go ahead and rinse those rags out and give me some fresh water? We're going to need that anyway. Yeah. Is it Siobhan? So it doesn't take the finish off quite like a stripper would, which is a way more heavy duty chemical designed to do that. However, you know, if that finish, like with this thing is so old, I do think it kind of started to lift off the finish that was already compromised because it's so old. And it also is going to help degloss it. Is it going to eradicate gloss entirely? No, but it's going to degloss it enough to give you some tooth. You're welcome, Glenda. Thank you for repeating the viewers' questions too many times unless you want to look at everyone's comments. We have no idea what you were answering. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do my best, and I will, you guys. Again, if you're on here, maybe you're just joining, you want to know what's going on, go ahead and ask. You have myself and you have Dixie Belle behind the scenes answering questions. And DM, the beautiful guest, that's my daughter. My one and only that I've given birth to. I have 2 more stepkids they're mine just as much so, but she's my one and only. Okay, so this is starting to dry. The next thing that I'm going to do, and she's off giving me a clean bucket. The next step, and this is my prep process that I'm sharing with you guys, okay? I have these awesome rad pads from Dixie Belle. They're made by the makers of Surf Prep. So the Surf, here's the packaging here. The Surf Prep sander is wonderful for this next step, as well as many other things. However, not everybody has access to one. So I love that Dixie Belle is offering this product, which is really easy to use. I'm going to demonstrate. And it's going to help you in your prep process as far as giving it a nice scuff sand to give it tooth. What is tooth? Tooth is just scuffing it up so that your paint or your boss or whatever has something to stick to. So they have a few different ones in here, and I'm going to clarify something in a second. So I already know what you guys are going to ask me. I got it. They have different ones. Okay, so there's medium all the way up to super fine. And the question is, which one do I need for this piece? Okay, I'm not going to go with all the way up to super fine because that's more of a finishing grit. So that is the pad that I'm going to use either in between coats to smooth out, if I get like any kind of clumpies or dust in my finish. When you sand Dixie Belle paint, it does make it smooth as glass. So that's what I would use my super fine for. I'm going to go for the medium, which I have to look at the back here. Here we go. They are color coded. I just don't have them memorized yet. I'm going to head for the medium. And look, I have an extra one for my sugar. She sure is taking a while with that bucket. We're going to go for the medium, and I'm going to demonstrate to you sanding. Okay. Now, the question that I feel like you guys are going to ask me, this is a question that I get a lot, is, do I have to sand? You don't have to sand in order to get the Dixie Belle paint to stick. And I just feel the need to clarify that because I don't want to confuse anybody. The reason I sand is, first of all, old habits are hard to break, okay? But second of all, it is an old piece. So over time, the finish, the veneer, all of that, it gets kind of lumpy, right? Or some pieces develop that like alligator crackle over it, like where the lacquer over time has just kind of, disintegrated. This is really just going to help smooth out your substrate. I can feel, especially on the side here, I'm running my hand over it. I can feel that it feels kind of like sandpaper. I personally like that to go away so that when I paint it, it is smooth, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. Put your mask on. Use a mask, you guys. That's a really good question. Let me answer that. Go ahead and start sanding, sugar. Dana, that's a really good question. I'm glad that you asked it. Why don't you sand first and do the cleaning after? The reason I don't is because if I were to sand first, all I am doing is smearing that dirt and grime into it deeper. Does that make sense? I like to get all that nasty off first. And I mean, think about getting your nails done, I guess. Not that I really, that's probably a bad example. I don't get my nails done, obviously. I just don't want to smear all that dirt and grime into the wood deeper and further. I like to get that gone. The other reason is when you do spray any kind of liquid like water, the White Lightning, it is kind of loud. I know, it's okay. When you do, it actually does kind of lift up the wood grain a little bit. Okay, so you're going to end up, if I were to sand and then clean, I would end up having to sand again anyway if I wanted that smooth wood grain. So follow the order that I give you for less effort on your part. Thank you, Lene. That's a good question. That's one for Dixie Belle. Can they get the rad pads yet in the UK, Dixie Belle? That's a really good question. All right, so I'm gonna put a mask on because, you know, you don't want to breathe this stuff in. And I'm gonna try to do it quickly so we can move on to the next step. Notice how I am not trying to take away the finish. I'm not trying to get it down to bare wood. I'm just doing it enough to smooth it out. And I can use my hand. I can use my hand as I go to feel it. Oh, you know what? That feels kind of tough right there. I don't like the way that feels. I can just go back over it. The nice thing about these rad pads is that they do stay in your hand nicely, whereas typical sandpaper, I find I'm having to like kind of adjust it quite a bit. So, and they're flexible. Are you okay? Okay. You get your side done? Yeah. Looks good. Keep your mask on for a bit until all this stuff calms down. Okay, so I'm gonna take mine off because I need to be able to talk to you guys. That's pretty quick, right? It was not a big job as far as it being time consuming. I think people get intimidated by the sanding process. It's really not a big deal. Again, my goal was just to smooth out my substrate and prep it for smoother laying of paint. So I usually at this point, go ahead and plug that in good. Show you. There's a outlet right there. I'm sweating. It's getting hot in the desert. Hot in the desert. So the next thing that I usually do is I'll take a vacuum, okay, and just get rid of any of the big dust particles. Want to open that up? Sticky. That was the vacuum. That was not me. That was a terrible sound. All right. So I just had her open me up a tap cloth. That's also an option for you. They are sticky. Do your hands feel gross? It's weird to get used to. They are sticky. I could also wipe the dirt or the sanding particles off with a tap cloth. That's also an option. See how it's coming off there? But oftentimes what I do is I just use the vacuum because honestly, tap cloths cost money. The vacuum will just suck it up. And that's a vacuum that I use specifically in my workspace here. So I will take a clean rag, wring it out as much as I can. You want to just give it a good wipe down really quick. And I'm wringing it out as much as I can because I don't want I don't want my substrate saturated. I am sweating. Oh my goodness. It is so hot in here. Okay, let me look at your comments. Deborah, you know what? That's a good question. I did not go with the grain. In my experience, yes, if I were using a more coarse grit, you definitely want to go with the grain because you are going to get scratches. But I'm just painting this. The grit that I use the medium of the Surf Prep. And it's not so coarse that it's chewing away at my wood. And so I did go against the grain. I actually went both ways, okay? And I also went in a circle. None of those scratches, if there are any, are gonna show up in my paint at all. Kathie wants to know, do you find the rad pads last longer than standard sandpaper? Yeah, actually I do, which is nice because I go through a lot of sandpaper here. And I mean, all the way down from if I'm stripping something, I'll go like I have like 80, 100, 220, all the way up to 1500. I do go through quite a bit of sandpaper. With these, they seem to last. Oh, snow in Michigan. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I'm sitting here just dying. Okay. Patricia, are the rad pads actually sandpaper or just a stiff plastic or paper product? How do I describe it? Let me pull out a clean one here. So they are, but they're like on a foam type backing, which is nice because it makes them super flexible. So, you know, if you guys notice when I went around that leg, I just wrapped it around the leg and just kind of did this really quick. And I do like the way that they feel in my hand. They don't seem to move around a lot when I use them, which is nice. Whereas sandpaper, because of that smooth back, you know, I'm constantly having to adjust it in my hand, it's falling out of my hand, etc. Oh, thanks, Gina. Gina thinks I'm a good teacher. Thank you. I'm so glad that you guys are absorbing this because, again, this is not my favorite subject to teach on. It's no fun, but it needs to be done, right? Brittany wants to know, and then I'm going to jump to the next part of my prep process here. In what situation would you use a more coarse rad pad as opposed to a fine grit? So I'll just give you one example. If I had, say I slopped on my paint and I had super messy brush strokes, say I just, you know, whatever, just tossed it on there. I would probably use a more coarse grit to knock those brush strokes out. So that's one example. Whereas a super fine grit, I would use as a finishing layer or whatever. So if I, for example, say that I just wanted to, before I was putting on either wax or top coat, say that I wanted to make sure that my paint is super duper smooth, I would go over it, and that's super fine. I think super fine was the highest, yeah, that they go up to on this. If I just went over that lightly, I'm telling you guys right now, if you haven't tried this, it's so much fun. Go over it lightly. Your paint is going to feel like glass. I kid you not. I tend to do this after I do it. It's weird. Like a big creep, right? Yeah. No, unimpressed? Yeah, I'm a creep. Okay. Sweaty. I am sweaty. It's hot. Whatever. It means I'm working hard. All right, next step. What time is it, Sugar?
I don't know.
Help me move this because the wheels are terrible. I gotta fix them. We're just gonna turn it this way. Okay, we have time. So I'm turning this because I do have some chipping veneer down here, okay? So Dixie Belle offers Dixie Mud. And it is available in 3 colors, okay? The color you choose is gonna be dependent on what you're doing. For this, I'm just gonna reach for my Dixie Mud in brown. Can you grab me a stir stick, Sugar? That's humongous. All right. She just told me I would. Okay, we're stirring it with this. Thanks, Amaya.
You're welcome.
Overkill. My goodness. It's like taking a bat to an ant.
The bigger they are, the bigger
Okay, now we're quoting Arby's commercials. All right. So I usually give my mud a good stir, okay? This stuff is really great for filling hardware holes. filling chipped veneer,
God.
raised stenciling. I use it a lot for that. Oh my gosh, this stuff is amazing for that. I'm going to be releasing a piece soon that I did raised stenciling using Dixie Belle Mud. So the first thing I do is I get it stirred up really well. Okay. Dixie Belle offers spatulas. Okay. You're learning something too, so I need you to think. You haven't filled anything yet. I haven't taught you this, huh? No, she's like a master prepper by now, you guys. I love it. Okay, so on this humongous stick that she gave me.
I don't like the way that looks.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't look good. I know. Anyway, I'm just tossing a little bit there. Can you do something for me, Sugar? Will you hold this so I can bring it in closer? Our focus is here, Sugar. Okay. Here. There we go. Okay. So I just slapped some on. Actually, I don't even think you saw. Hopefully you guys can see underneath it where the veneer was chipped and missing. So I'm just putting some of the mud on. Okay. Where'd that stick go? Try to get some of the excess off of here. We do not waste in this house. So, and then again, Dixie Belle offers these spatulas. Make sure that you are on it. I know it's kind of shaky, you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, and you're just going to kind of scrape away the excess. Ah. All right, there we go. I have that one piece that's giving me trouble. Sometimes if it's giving me trouble like this is, and I think it's the angle that I'm having to come in at because it's right on the edge here. Sometimes I'll just glop it on pretty thick like that and just sand it back, which is pretty much what I end up doing. So, okay. So you guys got to see mud. So what did I just do? Let me check the time really quick because that's gonna, yes, we will have time for the next step, the final step of prep. But what did I just do? I had missing veneer, okay, and I grabbed my Dixie Belle Mud and I just filled it with the mud, okay? I'm gonna let that dry. It's gonna take some time, okay? Once I do, I'm gonna come back probably with the medium, the same rad pad that I used to smooth out the body. I'm gonna come back with that and I'm just gonna sand over that area until it's flush and that the missing veneer is patched and flush with the substrate. So really quick, before I move on to the next step, Karen wants to know what white lightning is. Cheap cider is what white lightning is there in Scotland. Nice. Yeah, it's just TSP. White lightning is a cleaning product. It's TSP, which just means that it's meant to prepare your piece by cleaning it, lifting up grime, deglossing, and preparing it for a new finish, whether it's stain, paint, etc. Okay, very important step. Let's try this again. So for the last part of prep, and I didn't even talk about repairs, you guys. This is gonna need a few repairs. Like this, the drawers sinking in like that, I can't with that. So I'm gonna add some stoppers. I'm gonna probably reinforce the top later. I'm definitely gonna fix those wheels, etc. But for our purposes, we're just focusing on this portion. The next thing that I will do in my prep process is go for my boss, okay? There we go. So this is where people often get confused. If you're only gonna pay attention to this part in the video, will you grab the other boss up there, Sugar? Thanks. If you only pay attention to one thing, pay attention to this. Boss, thank you, babe. and slick stick are two different things. This is where I find that the most confusion comes in. Do I slick stick or do I boss? Okay. Boss is a problem solver in that it will keep the wood from bleeding up and through the paint. Okay. So that's why we're going to use boss, because I know, especially now that I've cleaned and sanded it, I've disrupted the finish, which is going to make it more susceptible for the wood bleed or tannins to come through my paint job. How many of you, and you don't have to answer this, but have painted something white, okay, and you didn't put something like boss down underneath it and it bled through and turned pink or orange? That is the most frustrating thing, okay? I know that I'm going to be painting this, actually a portion of it, my base coat at least, is going to be done in a shade of white. I'm not sure which shade yet, but it's going to be white. So I'm going to use white boss to prep it. But they do, Dixie Belle offers clear boss as well. So the one that I choose is going to be dependent on my project. I'm choosing white boss to put under white paint because it's going to give me more hide. Slick stick, and I don't want to get into it too further because I want to move forward. That is for slick surfaces. So if this were like a tile, marble, laminate type of piece, that's where this would come in. That is going to make your paint stick to the surface. It's exactly that. Slick, stick. It helps things to stick to slick surfaces, okay? But for this, we're using boss. So I really hope that cleared that up. If you have questions or something was unclear, by all means, ask them. I am keeping an eye on the comments. Yeah, Debbie says, guilty. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. And sometimes, check this out. This is a question that gets asked a lot too. Sometimes you won't see that you have wood bleed, and then you go and you put top coat on, and all of a sudden you have wood bleed. That's common too. So please don't skip this step, because top coats will pull the tannins up and through your finish if they are there to be pulled through. So do not skip this step. Okay. So I'm just going to do a very quick, I'm not going to coat the whole thing. We don't have time for it, but I'm just going to show you, actually you're going to show them. I'm going to walk you through it. It's okay. How easy it is to get boss. Here, maybe it'll help you. Hold this, sugar. By the way, you guys, these are like amazing tools for opening those drawers. You see how they just, close them and kind of hook it in and pull the drawers out. I get them at like Harbor Freight for like $1. I have like 12 of them around my house. I'm gonna bring you guys in. Let's do it this way, sure. Okay. That should make it easier for you. So, if you guys have ever used, I think it's like bin shellac-based primer, okay? That's like the white primer with shellac in it. That stuff, I used to use that for years before I discovered Boss. Does it work? Absolutely. However, when you're painting it on, it dries so quick that you end up with these clumps and everything else. It is a nightmare. This stuff is so much easier that even my 16-year-old who has never used it is going to be able to use it with ease. Go. I know you don't know what to do. Poor thing. Hold the brush. Put a little bit of the Boss onto your brush. You've done this before, babe. You're fine. When you painted your vanity. Not this step, but it's going to be just as easy as the paint. I promise. You're okay. Start brushing it on. Back and forth in consistent strokes this way. Hold it like this. Give yourself some control. There we go. Back and forth. So check out the hide on that. I mean, it's pretty good. It's not going on thin to where you're going to need 12 coats just to even get good hide. Hide meaning, obviously the layer on top is concealing the wood underneath. There you go. Yes, Angie. Oh my gosh, Angie. Yes. The shellac was a nightmare and also ruined my brushes. Look, I don't care. I've looked up so many ways to get that bin, primer, shellac stuff out of my brushes. And I've soaked them in ammonia. I've tried all kinds of things and they would just never, ever come clean. I am using the same brush, which is an oval medium, that I would use in my paint in my Boss. Absolutely. That is such a good point. Andrea, no, I don't paint the inside of my drawers. I'm sorry. We're going to switch spots here. That looks really good. Careful of your... Just trade me seats. Yep. So I don't use the same...
I don't like this too.
I know you don't like it. You're fine. You're fine. You are fine. I don't paint the inside of my drawers. I don't, because I really like to let the history show through. And even if they're dirty, like this one has a little bit of stains inside, there's nothing, I can just take my rad pad and buff it out a little bit. Come on, camera. There we go. So I can lightly sand out these stains. You can, but I just don't, because again, I like the history of the piece to still be within the piece, even though it's been painted. What I do, however, I don't have it on me. However, Dixie Belle makes what's called Big Mama's butter, excuse me, and she does all my drawer polishing. So in the link above, you can click on it and just type in on the search bar on Dixie Belle's website, Big Mama's butter. And that stuff brings out the wood grain and makes your drawers look like new, and it smells good. I love that stuff. I use it on every piece that comes through my studio. So, all right, let's look at her job. What do you guys think? How did she do? You can set that down, babe. Set the paintbrush down. Find the lid and put it on there. I'm going to bring them in with the camera. Here we go. It's not bad. So we are going to let this dry. I know that the light is kind of glary. Maybe if I bring it in a little bit closer.
Where is lid?
Where is lid? I don't know. So my kiddo, who has never used Boss before, just did a pretty good job. And the other thing is too, even though it looks kind of brushstrokey, Boss is super forgiving. So, you know, it's not going to look super brushstrokey when I go to put my paint on it. If there are very deep brushstrokes though, same thing. I would hit my medium rad pad and I could just go over it and knock those brushstrokes back, even on Boss. Okay, they're saying, great job, Sugar. Show them your face. Let them know
I like
that you,
the AC.
you like the AC. No, he's so shy. Oh, well, I appreciate you taking one for the team. Yeah, you did a good job, Sugar. Okay, so I'm looking. I don't really see any other questions. However, go ahead and ask them. Like I said, you have myself, you have Dixie Belle at your disposal. You know, I hope that you guys learned something today. This is my prep process, and I'll tell you what, I go through this with every piece. I never skip these steps, even though there are times I feel super lazy and I want to, which is usually when I hire my assistant here to do it for me. She does a good job. But I'll tell you what, doing the prep, it's like, there's a level of confidence, especially if you're selling your pieces, there's a level of confidence that comes with it because you know that your finish is going to last because you've done the, you know, you've given it a solid foundation to last for, you know, years to come. So, okay. Cindy wants to know, how long until it dries? About 2 hours totally before I would paint it. It'll dry to touch pretty quickly because it is warm here, and again, in Arizona. But I usually wait about 2 hours before I will start coating it with paint. Or oftentimes I'll do it the night before and then just let it sit all night. So that way I'm not thinking about it and getting impatient. So, okay, you guys, thank you guys for your positive feedback and for your engagement. I do appreciate you. I will be back next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, which is noon here, Mountain Standard Time in Arizona. I did leave the link if you want to purchase any of these products or find your local retailer. That link is up in the description. And if you are on the Dixie Belle page watching, follow me. My link is on there as well. And yes, when I do boss every piece, I boss every piece. I'm crazy. I know, I do. Victoria, I'm going to do 2 coats. I'm going to do 2 coats because I'm doing white and it's better safe than sorry. Okay, You guys, thank you so much, and I will catch you guys next time and next week. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.